Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with the Green Bay Packers. And last year, Green Bay, and they were a mixed bag. Honestly, there was part of the season where they looked really, really bad. And when they tried to run the table and establish a season, it was too little too late. Aaron Rodgers regressed. The Packers' offense as a whole regressed. Defenses had lapses. And yeah, it was just not a good, disappointing year for Green Bay. And that's and looking at their schedule, what they did last year, they went 8-9 last year. And one thing's apparent: they swept the Bears. They own the Bears. They beat up on the Cowboys in the midst of their losing streak. They own the Cowboys. Started off three and they started off 3-1, but then they entered a 5-game losing streak, which involved getting swept by the entire state of New York in that process. Then they beat the Cowboys. Then they lost 2 more games against the Titans and Eagles. But then they got on a winning streak. They tried to run the table. They almost made the postseason because of it. But the Lions decided to sweep them, even if they themselves already were eliminated. Let's take a look at some highlights from this season. And like I said before, owning the Bears and the Cowboys. Two things absolutes in life: death, taxes, and Aaron Rodgers beating up on the Bears and Cowboys. Even though he has lost to these teams before, but that's another conversation for another day. The Bears are just new, but the Cowboy game really stands out because Christian Watson, if I was correct, he had like 3 touchdowns in that game. Dallas could not guard him. Also, some pretty Mike McCarthy out Mike McCarthy himself in that game. It was just it was a game that the Packers shouldn't have won. The Cowboys lost it more than the Packers won it. That's how I put it. And then there's that 4-game winning streak when they tried to run the table. They tried to run the table and it almost worked, but unfortunately it didn't. Now for some lowlights, getting owned by the Lions. If I remember the first game they played against the Lions, Rodgers threw 3 interceptions, most of them being in his own territory, near in the red zone. That is not Aaron Rodgers like for him to have those mistakes. And in the second game, his last pass as a Green Bay Packer was an interception. Kind of remind me of another Green Bay Packer quarterback whose last pass was an interception. And then obviously Aaron Rodgers regressed big time. I don't know if it was age. I don't know if it was mental. I don't know if it was his disconnect with the organization. But Aaron Rodgers had a big regression that year. And then the offseason, the will they, won't they game with Aaron Rodgers. Fortunately, it finally got solved before the draft, as I predicted, because Rodgers was finally traded to the New York Jets. For our acquisitions, they didn't really do too much. I mean, they added a safety and a long snapper. But the subtractions really stand out. Losing Aaron Rodgers, losing Allen Lazard, losing Randall Cobb, all of them to the Jets. But on the defense, they also lost Dean Lowry, Krins Barnes, and Jarran Reed. The latter going back to Seattle, if I'm correct. And in the draft, once again in the first round, they ignore the offense and emphasize the defense. Luca Van Ness, which he isn't a bad player, but he never started in college. So he's going to be a guy that needs a lot of development. But they did have a lot of draft picks in this particular draft. Luke Musgraves, the tight end, possibly replacing Mr. Robert Tonyan. You have Jaden Reed, who's replacing Allen Lazard. They drafted another tight end in Tucker Kraft. And they pretty much, the rest are just drafted two more wide receivers after that. So yeah, Green Bay, they did. I basically, this could be like their little rebuild. Now, before I get into Green Bay's prediction, I did something a little different for their prediction. I decided to flip a coin and let the coin predict on what the Packers is going to be, because to be honest with you, it's a toss up between these two. With this team, they could go in two different directions. They could either A, be successful, have a Patrick Mahomes Patrick Mahomes type season, or regress. We miss Aaron Rodgers. You want to see how that goes? Let's take a look at the predictions. Now, like I said earlier, for the Green Bay Packers, for every game I predicted, I flipped a coin. And even though I already did the Bears and the Chiefs, I made sure I did Green Bay. I actually did Green Bay's first, so the coin will work itself out. So, with that being said, with their first game is against the Chicago Bears. I actually gave Green Bay a win, but then at Atlanta, I got them falling to the Falcons week 2, and I got them falling at home against the Saints, and then I got them falling at home to the Detroit Lions. So yeah, Green Bay is not going to start off well at home, but against the Raiders, I do them winning in this particular game, and already they have a bye week. But against the Broncos, I got them losing to the Broncos. Minnesota, I got them winning against Minnesota. Then the Los Angeles Rams, I have them losing at the Rams. And the reason why I could also see this happening, remember the Rams are going to be a healthier team. But Pittsburgh, I got them getting a road win against the Steelers. Home win. This is when a home win against the Chargers. A Thanksgiving Day win against the Detroit Lions on the road. I know, surprising. Surprising how the coin works sometimes. Beating the Chiefs on Sunday night. Yes, I know. Beating the Giants on Monday night. Beating the Buccaneers at home, but somehow losing to the Panthers at home. But they're going to sweep the Vikings and lose to the Bears to put their record at 9-8. Yes, I got them at 9-8, which could be a toss-up. But who knows what Green? But I think Green Bay season is a true toss-up for me. So tell me what you think in the comments below. The Queen will be right about Green Bay or will be wrong. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.